I guess I can just jump into it. I have been testing this shit for a while. So, I have a story about an assessment center. Um, I don't remember exactly what the task was. I mean, not word for word, but at the very least, I have some, you know, recollection of what I read. They gave us a paper. There were like 10 of us, and we had to take care of this one exercise. So I read the whole paper, and it was about a big fucking ship, which was sinking, of course. Whee! There's like a leak, there you go. Water is flowing in. Yeah, that's a fucking ship, yeah. But there are the lifeboats. That's the important part, the lifeboats. And so you are sinking, and there are several people on board, and there are also sharks in the water. There are sharks in the water, which makes it extremely dangerous to just jump into the water. Yes, I know, very realistic, but we have to indulge the exercise. And a few kilometers away, not too far, there's an island. It's your safe haven. Whee! There are like palm trees. Great. That's a bit too thick for a palm tree. Okay. So they told us, at least the paper said, that you can save some people, not all of them, and you have to come to a conclusion. There is limited space on the lifeboats, or maybe there was only fucking one lifeboat, I don't know. Why would a ship even set sail without enough lifeboats apart from the Titanic? So anyway, they gave us a list, and we knew what kind of profession and backgrounds these people had, and you could see it from a mile away. That the objective of the exercise, or the aim, was to make us debate each other, because there was like a priest, there was a mother with her kid, but there was also a convict, but he had a knife. There was somebody else who had a rope. There was also like a martial arts master, and I don't know, many kinds of backgrounds. And you could see that, oh fuck, they might even drag us into, or this could lead to a religious debate, or maybe there is a good argument to be made that we don't really need the mother with her kid, but at the same time you want to protect them. You know, all sorts of problems. Do we go with the utilitarian route and try to maximize our survival, or, you know, try to be more ethical in a survival situation? And of course they told us at the end that there are no bad answers. Very important. And the other instruction is to discuss who we want to be on the lifeboats, and just give them a list. Yeah, just give us a list. Which is not really important, because there are really no bad answers in this situation, and this is like a fantasy world. So I figured that, you know, if they can come up with rules, then maybe I can also come up with certain rules if there are no bad answers. That's the sentence I was really hung up on. So I figured that there was the martial arts guy. Let's draw Jackie Chan here with a knife. So he is our savior. He can obviously fight the sharks. Let's say that we have only one lifeboat, just to simplify things, and we obviously cannot fit everybody in there. So let's say that we have one boat floating. There you go. There are a few people in there. Am I accidentally creating a weird picture here? Can you misunderstand it for something? Okay, maybe. Okay, there's like a person there, and there are many of them. But there was also a rope on the list. So let's use the rope, and we can tow people. People can just, you know, hang on to this rope. I know it's dangerous because it's in the water and there are sharks. However, we also have fucking Jackie Chan himself, and he can fight the sharks. If they can tell us that we only have one lifeboat on the ship, and they give us all of these rules, then and then there are no good or bad answers, then we can also have some liberty at how we solve the problem. So the way I solve the problem is that we can completely circumvent this debate over who goes and who stays. Let's just save fucking everyone. Let's use the rope and people can hang on to this rope. Those who cannot really fit into the ship. Obviously, we will put women, the children, and the elderly inside the boat, and the capable of them can fight the sharks, but mostly Jackie Chan. And he is going to be able to fight off the sharks. And even if I say that, yeah, it's a bit dangerous and people are going to die, we still gave everybody a decent fighting chance, especially with Jackie Chan at the end of this rope. Not the end of his rope though, that would be bad. So that was my solution, and I thought that this is going to completely, circumvent this whole bullshit, and we can avoid the debate, and then we would have solved the exercise in like 5 minutes, right? But there's a problem. So in the room there were we were sitting in a circle like this, right? Maybe there was 7 or 8 of us. I don't really remember. All I remember is I was sitting here, my ex-girlfriend next to me, and when I came up with the idea, which I did pretty aggressively, well, not aggressively, but maybe assertively, I was just enthusiastic about it, and I was very animated in my way of explaining my idea, and using their own rules, the exercise givers' own rules, to completely flip the table and just fuck up the exercise basically, and still solve it. In like maybe a creative way, you could say that. The problem was that the people around me didn't like the idea. Interesting. Why wouldn't they like the idea? Because the assessment center is about having a conversation, showing your leadership skills and stuff like that, how social you are. So there are like just people sitting there, especially we were at university, there were some highly career-driven people, women and men there, and they didn't really like the fact that I tried to solve the exercise quickly. But this whole exercise is not about solving the exercise, it's about the other stuff I said: leadership, initiative, maybe some ambition, emotional intelligence. I can abbreviate that, I guess. And maybe there was a way for me to phrase this correctly, but I was like 23 years old or 4, I don't fucking remember. But I was just very enthusiastic, and I went ahead and just blurted all this shit out. So the reaction was antagonistic, to say the least. All of them, including my ex, grouped up against me, which was a weird experience. I kind of expected my ex to at least entertain the idea, but she looked at me like I was crazy, of course. That was cool. We are no longer together, I guess, for a good reason. No, it's not that. This wasn't that big of a deal. It was one of the first red flags, of course, that but it's not about the relationship. I think she's doing fine. I hope she's doing fine. No bad feelings. We can move on. And I guess that's it. They of course try to solve the exercise in the intended way, and maybe you don't know that, but there's like a phenomenon that when people group together and they start brainstorming, you don't really get creative answers. In fact, creativity is stifled by group dynamics. Because what happens is that there is always a dominant voice, which was this girl there, so let's give her some hair. it was that girl there who especially seemed to hate me for my solution. And of course, by the end of the exercise, the priest died. The priest had to be left on the ship because, of course, he doesn't provide anything. And maybe even the mother, and with her kid or something, some shit like that. And they kind of forgot about it. I tried to mention it, but I basically had no voice at this point. They just ignored whatever I had to say, so it's fine. And it's just interesting how the answer was not even consistent. The answer doesn't even really matter. I was really hung up on the end result and how we go on about this problem and how we solve it. But in the end, this whole thing is about this this clown show, so to speak. Or maybe it has utility because this is how people, I guess, get into power, how you navigate the situation and stuff like that. And I don't feel bad about not being able to do that because I don't want to be part of this kind of inauthentic play acting that actually happened in the end. It's completely cringe, but it's interesting how there was a clear solution which actually showed it wasn't even a solution, it was a critique of the whole exercise. My solution was the critique that maybe you need better instructions, maybe don't say this, maybe you don't have to revert back to the good old HR sentence that there are no good or bad answers. You just have to specifically state that, yeah, just solve the exercise by giving us the list, and you have to put a certain amount of people into the ship, into the lifeboat, and give us your reasoning why you put them there. That's it. And maybe you would still have to think about some loopholes there, but that's a good start. And then there's no problem with the exercise. And then the participants are kind of forced to engage with it. So at the end of the assessment center, I was told by employees of a certain company that, yeah, you don't really fit into this corporate style work. If you want to be slightly more creative, then yeah, go ahead. There are probably jobs for you or other ways of making it work, but this is not it. And of course, my ex was a super diplomatic and how should I sociable person, and they took a huge interest in her. Not in this girl though, because she was way too aggressive. So good job for my ex. She was very much fit for corporate context. Turns out not me. So that's it. So I would rather just draw some conclusions. And to be fair, I don't want to work for a corporation, which I have. I can do it if I really want to, but I don't want to. That's the gist of it. And in the end, it's just interesting how I kept telling myself that I had a premise that you are not very creative. And I would say that this is a clear example of me being creative, but you might also say that this is just like efficiency maxing fag. Okay, I can't say that. But, maybe you can argue this is not creativity, but using the rope, attaching to the boat, calling Jackie Chan our savior who can kill the sharks. It's a bit outside the box. I think we can agree on that, and that's all good and dandy. So that was my postulation, that was my thesis, that probably I'm not very creative. So I kind of let this define who I am. This lack of creativity and stuff like that, despite having an example right away here. And there are many other examples. So that's just interesting. You can have a bunch of conclusions, I guess, from this. Or maybe I don't want to talk about that, to be honest. I don't care about corporations. Who gives a fuck? So why am I telling this story? To be honest, I I have a slight clue, but I am not exactly sure. First of all, I just wanted to make a YouTube video in this exact format where I can be on camera and even show my face and get comfortable with that, because I have been thinking about, making something, but I just didn't really sit down and do it. And I just wanted to do it. And I had a completely different idea. I had like 3 or 4 ideas for a video, but I didn't really. Actually, when I sat down here, I just wanted to talk about this assessment center story, which I think is somewhat funny, or at least slightly entertaining, how things played out. And since I have a pen tablet and I can draw for you, I might as well do that. I could have switched colors, but I'm too lazy for that. Who cares about those colors anyway? But apart from that, I guess it is also me coming to terms with what kind of um, unhinged ideas sometimes I have, and me owning it instead of just sitting here at home, I don't know, writing a diary or just analyzing my situation and life and so forth. I just pretty much got tired of sitting around, not being very active. And even when I, play some games, I mean, I like Factorio or Battle Brothers, or I could, name a whole bunch of fucking games that you don't even probably know of. But in the end, after like an hour or two, it just becomes so fucking boring, man. I mean, no, the game is not boring. I like optimizing stuff there, but it's just, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah, that's the kind of feeling I get. I want to be able to do something. Um, I'm umming too much. So what did I learn from this? First of all, I learned that there's a divide, maybe an ideological or maybe a temperamental divide between me and my ex. But that's just an aside, that's just funny. The other thing is that I'm weird, man. Just who the fuck does this? I mean, even I recognize that any sane person would have read the shit, they would have understood what they were going for, which of course I did, but I still try to rebel against the system and come up with something different. Or just completely, when I saw through what they were aiming to do, I just didn't really want to have the debate with these idiots. Okay, I didn't know them, I'm just joking. Don't take everything seriously, please. I just like bad mouthing sometimes. So, there were these idiots who I didn't know, and I don't want to have a fucking religious debate. Let's just solve this and go home. Which is, and I also knew, what the subtext was. I knew that that's what we are here for. But I wasn't trying to really get the brownie points of being, the leader, the king of the situation and telling them, you do this, you do that, and blah, 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 blah. No, I wasn't really trying to do that. I was just relaying my idea and then let them decide, which ultimately they did. It was just really surprising how they turned against me, because I thought in my heart that the evidence, or at least the argument, was very compelling, that I managed to find a loophole in the system of the assessment center exercise giver people, or whoever the fuck created the exercise. Let's be honest, they just fucking found an exercise on the internet and they printed it, okay? It's not like they invented it. It was just a random company in Hungary, that's it. So let's not act like it's not a common exercise. But anyway, so this is where I'm at, I guess. I kind of have to come into terms with me being weird, not being a king, but being kind of weird. And by weird, I don't mean to say that it's bad. It means that I just have a different skill set. So the subtext, as I said, wasn't lost on me, but what does this mean? For me, it means inauthenticity, posturing, pure fucking cringe. And most importantly, it's not fun. Not fun. It's fucking boring. and it's highly ego driven, for fuck's sake. Who cares about that? Who gives a shit about you, man? Highly ego driven. Jesus Christ, how fucking cringe this is. Ugh. And this is everything I hate. This represents everything I fucking hate about about dynamics, about certain dynamics. It's not the most hated thing ever for me, because it's probably war or murder or maybe torture or whatever, you name it. But still, inauthenticity and all that, I don't want that. It sucks, man. Why do we have to do this clown show? So yeah, it was the clown show. Let's call it what it is. The clown show. Sorry, as you can hear, English is not my first language, and probably I am making punctuation mistakes here and there, or spelling mistakes, I should say. So just ignore them, thank you. So it wasn't just about creativity, it was me going against the social dynamics of this situation. I'm not going to write that down. Yeah. And that's why this meant a bit more between me and my ex, because she wanted to be part of something like this. She was constructing her life around this, but at least for her it wasn't inauthentic. But to be honest, I think it sort of was, because I know how she acted when she was with me, and she was completely carefree and let go and let go. And I know her, I knew her true personality. But when we were sitting there and she was, all straight backed and very, very cordial and all that, that was just, what are we doing, man? What the fuck are we doing? Why do you change your voice? Why do you change your voice into the, super official one, the formal? She had a formal voice. We have like an honorific system. Not exactly, but okay, the Japanese have that, sure. But we also have like different words for speaking formally to each other. So this is very formal speech. And whenever I talk to a new student or whoever the fuck, a new acquaintance, I always try to switch, not even start with the honorific. So I immediately ask them to, move away from the titles. No titles, no formality. Just be normal. In Hungarian we have like a word for it called tegezni, not using the honorifics, I guess. And I always ask them. I always ask people, even if they are older, and they always appreciate it, because we are moving away from this trend. So again, I was not only rejecting the exercise, but I was also rejecting the dynamics. It's a form of rebellion, which you can argue is a very disagreeable trait. It's a disagreeable trait, but I am not doing that just to have a conflict with people. I actually don't like conflicts all over, wherever I go. It's quite the opposite. But I have such a strong aversion to this kind of inauthenticity that I just can't do it. And that's where I am becoming very disagreeable. But I also like, games. And to me, this was kind of a game with its own system, and I didn't like it. It was a shitty game. I saw no way in which we could have had fun unless I kept making jokes. But at that time, I didn't really have that mindset to keep making jokes. This is where creativity can be stifled, because this whole thing ties into creativity, for me at least. Whenever I sat down to come up with an idea for a video, I always ran into the problem that I was blocked very quickly. I just sat down, I tried to come up with something, and everything turned very serious in my head. Suddenly, I really wanted to have like a very sustainable long-term trajectory, or I also started thinking about the legacy that I was about to make. How is this going to contribute to society and shit like that? And it's stupid. It's really stupid. I mean, what the fuck, man? I'm not even going to be famous or anything. But even if I were, why would I have to analyze and pre-plan for that? Jesus, so stupid. But things like this aren't logical, I guess. It just fucking happens to you and it blocks you. And it has blocked me for years. For years! Because low-key I'm still kind of afraid that I'm going to be too much. Because I guess this is like also like a psychological profile of me, of how I reacted to this. This was a very bad feeling for me, obviously. And why? Because I was too much. I was rejected. So these are negative emotions associated with all this. So what I experienced on the assessment center was very layered, so to let's say that, because there was rejection by the group, by the organizers, and that's even more important, by my girlfriend. I felt completely alone, and it felt like everybody was crazy for not seeing the reason behind the 5-minute quick solution. Even though I knew the dynamics, I just couldn't really believe that we cannot move past this shit. Why can't we just have fun and, you know, talk about something that's more conducive to having fun? But fun doesn't always mean that we are not going to be working hard, or not we are not going to be creative. This is just this just kills creativity and original thoughts, which is, I guess, the same. But original thoughts are important, man. That's where actual ideas jump into light, and that's where you start maybe building something new, right? Which is not really going to happen in a sterilized environment. This is way too sterilized. Like, obviously, the whole premise of this situation is retarded. So, but even if you indulge it there, it didn't really work, right? So, but let's go back to the emotions. There is this I'm too much. I'm too much. I'm just too much. Even right now, as I am analyzing myself, it feels like that I am too much, that I shouldn't really be doing this. So maybe this is where I should really be going and get to the bottom of this. That I'm just too fucking much, and I shouldn't be telling these people how we should solve the exercise, right? And I shouldn't really be telling you how this felt like, what this thing was, and my mind keeps racing about what the negative comments are going to be about. That, oh, you were the retarded one, why didn't you read the room? And maybe if you were just telling jokes, then this whole thing could have worked out. And no, but no, you didn't. You are just an idiot, blah, 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 blah. I could, keep telling myself that for the rest of my life. So this is like, it's not good to feel rejected. You probably have heard about the, caveman explanation, that we were living in small groups of maybe 100 people, and if you were ostracized, then you fucking died. Okay, that's you, and you fucking died because now you are alone and you don't have the resources and logistics and all the brain power of 100 people, or even plus. And you have to tackle the lions and all that by yourself on the savannah. That's it. That's the general understanding of why we have a strong emotion called shame, which can override fucking anything, even your anger. So shame is a huge driver. This can also tie into narcissistic personalities, but also into what I have been doing, feeling too much when I am getting rejected. And this can stifle you for fucking years. Is shame useful for me in this situation? Yes, in case I really want to fit into a corporate structure, then yes, I do have to change my personality, because this is not going to fly at all. Because I shouldn't really be asking questions, I shouldn't really be coming up with my own solutions or finding loopholes, unless I become like an ethical hacker or something. There are probably ways of doing that, and utilizing a more disagreeable personality. But overall, there is less chance for me to fit into like a corporate structure. It's not like I haven't done that, and you know, when I behave like a good boy, I can totally do that. I have worked as a software developer, and you know, I just acted like a normal person, and that's it. It's not difficult to do. But at the bottom of my heart, at the core of my personality, I'm a bit more bubbly. I'm higher on energy than I actually thought I was. And I just really, even right now, I am just fucking around with this. I don't even know why. I just like moving things around on my desk. I probably need a fidget cube, to be honest, or something that I can mess around with. So yeah, there are many negative emotions, and you can, this can turn into depression and analysis paralysis, because you want to get out of the depression. So this whole situation just ties back into the old loop of not having enough confidence. So this is a lack of confidence, being driven by shame. This is the main emotion. Let's capitalize it. Shame is the driving emotion. I am even going to switch fucking colors for this. Jesus Christ, man, look at this shit. And I can delete that. So shame is our core emotion. It just branches out from this point.